When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. Where take your breath, you feel.
Welcome everybody to a very special report. We are now talking about what's going on in China at the moment. In fact, since last night, we've seen massive uprisings breaking out throughout China. Would you like to explain to people a little bit more what's going on?
Absolutely. So what we can kind of see happening here is that there was a notice put out through universities. This is probably how it started. And it went through talking about, oh, we should remove COVID restrictions. Let's remove zero COVID restrictions. This is insane. Like, we shouldn't be, locked down anymore. It was kind of all related to this. But things, what Chairman Mao said, a single spark can set a prairie fire. This went wild. And this is actually how it caught my attention. Somebody sent me a picture of their WeChat moments. So WeChat's the app that everyone uses.
Yeah.
And everything was removed or blacked out.
Yeah.
And I'll show you why.
Okay, we're going to show you a little clip here, everybody, for you to see. And it's very important to see what the people are saying here. Okay, now, when it comes to protests, we've both seen protests in China. We've seen a lot of protests. I've seen usually surrounding people's houses, being forcefully demolished, or, maybe a real estate scam, but mostly anti-Japanese protests, things like that, which are allowed by the government. But never, ever do you see any kind of action against the government.
Never. I've never once seen this. Not in all my years in China. This is absolutely the biggest thing that's happened since Tiananmen Square. And I want you to just roll stuff in the background as we talk.
All right. Now, deposed dictator, traitor Xi Jinping.
This is not normal,
No,
guys.
it's not. Okay, listen to this. So they're saying, Xi Jinping, stand down. They're chanting this. This particular footage is from Shanghai, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this was last night in Shanghai. People are saying, step down, Xi Jinping. F you, CCP. F your mom. That kind of thing. They're shouting this. Now, again, since Tiananmen Square, we've never seen this kind of uprising. Now, we're going to get into it. This is not just happening in Shanghai.
No.
If you'd watched our show on Thursday, which we put out this previous week, you would have seen these massive uprisings in Zhengzhou, which had to do with in Henan, which had to do with the Foxconn factories and the zero COVID restrictions. And the official narrative that's been coming out from all the propagandists and all the people that work for the CCP is that it's an isolated incident, that it's a wage dispute with Foxconn, and there's nothing going on. But these outbreaks have been happening everywhere around China, these uprisings. And there's more. There are quite a few things that have sparked it off, including this horrific fire in Urumqi. But we're going to show you all of this stuff as we go along.
So what I want you to do is just play all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to explain something. You turn it down a little bit.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll put it down in the background. So yeah.
Sure. So this in Shanghai, you might say, okay, yeah, they were the first to go under those severe, crazy lockdowns to get massive international attention.
One of my friends was locked in his apartment for 90 days.
Yeah. So
not allowed out of his apartment except for testing for 90 days.
And we know people starved to death.
Yeah.
In Shanghai. So you'd expect this. Okay, yeah, this is maybe an isolated incident in Shanghai. Well, it started little in Shanghai, and it grew. You can see the police presence here. And it grew from no COVID lockdowns to CCP step down. CCP, overthrow the CCP, overthrow Xi Jinping. This is the kind of loaded, crazy language we've never heard before in China.
Yeah.
And it would, like I said, it would make sense if it was just, in the cosmopolitan Shanghai where they have a global view, right?
Yeah.
Where they see everything with a more international lens. But look at this.
Yeah.
We have Xi'an. We have Inner Mongolia. I'm just going to name these places.
Sure.
We have Lanzhou. We have Chongqing. We have other parts of Guangzhou, which were already protesting.
Yes.
We have Beijing. We have third tier, fourth tier, fifth tier cities. We have top tier universities down to low level vocational schools.
Yeah.
We have people in the streets. We have officials being kidnapped out of government buildings. We have people parading through the streets. We have people tearing down police stations. We have PLA deployed, People's Liberation Army. We have SWAT teams. We have this across the entire country. I'm not even joking. It goes all the way from west to east, north to south. Even some small little regions of Xinjiang, little tiny towns of Xinjiang are having massive protests right now.
Now, it's quite important. I want you to pay attention to what's being said in the background, okay? I'm going to up that volume.
Sure. This is them taking away protesters, by the way.
I want to rewind a little bit. What they're saying is Bangaran, which means help people. Help people. Now, there's something I'm going to show you a clip in a second, which is from Chongqing, which happened before this, by the way, and which I think has got a lot to do with what sparked a lot of this off. But when people are shouting, help people, in these kind of protest sort of situations, it's very out of character for China. I've seen a lot of things happen, and of course in our line of work we get sent a lot of videos. We know what's going on in China, and usually when there's something that happens like this and people get dragged away, nobody tries to fight the police to get them back. It's usually like, okay, like they've taken them away, I'm going to just save myself here. I'm not going to get involved. Now we're seeing the public step in and try to fight back and actually wrestle the people back from the police and from the military. And I want to show you a clip. In fact, I'm going to fast forward.
It's hard to hear, but it actually kind of sounds like Fangren, which means like let him go.
Right.
Which is the same meaning here.
Yeah, exactly. Where did you have that clip of the Chongqing man?
It's in there.
Okay, I'm going to have to...
I wanted to show some of the protests.
Well, I have to show the genesis, because this happened before all of this.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to show you this brave man over here in Chongqing. Let's just get to him. We'll get back to the other stuff that's happening. Okay, come on.
It's coming.
Yeah. Let's fast forward.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Now... So this is in Chongqing, and I'll quickly paraphrase what he's saying over here. Okay, he's saying, "Give me liberty or give me death." Okay, that's what he's shouting, and you've got people actually chanting along with him. Okay, which is normally not the case.
Yeah.
Because people are like, "Holy crap! If someone's doing that, they're like, he's crazy. Stay away from me. I don't want anything to do with it."
Yeah.
But what he's saying is, he's not only shouting, "Give me liberty or give me death." He's like, "Look at the World Cup. Look at the players. Look at Ronaldo. He's got COVID, and he's had COVID, and he's still winning.
Yeah.
And he's pointing out other football stars and other sports people. They've had COVID twice, and they're still playing and winning.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? Like, give me liberty, give me death." And he's getting the crowd, involved. But the important thing is what happens when the police do finally arrive. Okay, which I'm going to just fast forward to, because he's just riling up the crowd and he's got a lot of interesting things to say. Look, we don't want to be age restricted here. The cops have him by the throat and they're dragging him away. Okay, they're choking him and dragging him away. And the important thing is what happens with the crowd. Okay, oops, what's going on there? Okay, hang on a second. I gotta fix this. All right.
Just a second.
Yeah, we'll fix this. This is important. Oh, come on. Of course, we always have to have like these kind of things happening on our show. The most important thing, we'll get to it. Don't worry, it's coming back. We'll go find him in the meantime. Here we go. Okay. I want you to listen to what the people are saying here. So they're like, "Don't stop using violence," and then they also say, wait for it.
Because you don't need to use violence.
Yeah. Look at the amount of police. The guy on the ground's like, help me. And you can hear people saying Bangren, again, help people, help him, okay? Now, you saw the huge crowd of police that were surrounding the guy and choking him, and they were trying to drag him away. Well, look what happened. They rescued him. And I mean, this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this happen in China. Okay? When you've got somebody who's out there protesting against the government, against the zero COVID policy, against the government policies, and the police arrive, and in the numbers you saw there's like, I don't know, what, 30, 40 policemen there for one man? Usually that's it. They'll drag him away and it's done. But the crowd stepped in to support this guy and actually got him out.
Yeah.
And you see, something like this shows a big shift. It shows a lot of courage, and it shows people are finally, they've had enough. Because usually in China, people will do anything in their power to prevent any like bad thing happening to them and disrupting their lives and causing trouble for themselves, right? But it shows you that everybody's reached a point where they've got nothing to lose. And they're actually willing to step in and help and get that guy out. And they're celebrating that he got out. Okay, so this happened previously, before all the stuff we just showed you earlier about step down CCP. And now we got to talk about probably the spark that really set all of this.
We don't want to make any claim like that. There's a billion things.
I mean, there are, but I would say one of the very biggest sparks. Okay, what you're seeing behind us here is a signal jammer, by the way. This is in Urumqi. They're sending signal jammers into places of protest in order to, stop people's cell phones so they can't send messages, they can't send videos, they can't, contact each other, they can't coordinate, that sort of thing. But let's see if we can get to it. All right, now, what you're seeing here is a building on fire in Urumqi. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. I'm going to play it for you.
Think graphic, so don't age restrict us.
Okay, so what's going on there is they're shouting, open the door, open that door, save us, because they'd been locked in the building because of zero COVID policy. Now, I don't know if you know how bad it is, and it depends, of course, on the city and the region, but people have been, as you know, welded into their apartments during this whole thing. But especially in Xinjiang, places like Urumqi, they are brutal, They don't give a shit. They lock people in their apartments. They wire the doors shut. They put bars over there. They weld it, whatever. So when you have something like an accidental fire happen, there's no escape. So, of course, the people in the building died. 10 people died, apparently, including children, which is absolutely terrible.
That's the official report.
Yeah, that's the official report. Who knows how many people actually ended up dying in the blaze. And that sparked off a huge, huge uprising. Of course, because people are not going to just sit back and take it. It's like the last straw.
I mean, there's been way worse things that have happened, but this was one of those things that was just, it sparked off people because people were trying to share information about it. It's getting pulled down. People just got furious.
Yeah, they're furious.
It spread.
And it led to people going to the government buildings and, making a huge protest and fuss in Urumqi. The government put out like an official notice to everyone, you may not talk about this outside of the official reports. They did all this kind of stuff to try and quell the protests. And of course, it just really went crazy. We've seen footage of, gunshots and things like that, which I can't verify that in particular. But it's been absolutely insane. And this, along with just the general frustration around the country, especially since China's just seen a huge jump in infections. Because, what the CCP has been saying, I'm just going to play stuff in the background here. Let me take the volume down. We've seen, not only have we seen a huge jump in infections, but people are just reaching a point where they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
This clip that we're showing here behind us now went viral before it was removed from Chinese social media, of, you know, children being taken away to quarantine camps separated from their parents, you know, which is heartbreaking. And again, this is just another one of the absolute insane, crazy policies that have come into the forefront because of this stupid zero COVID policy. I mean, separating children from their parents to go put in a quarantine facility is madness. Okay, it's absolute madness. So this was going around. You've got things like this happening. You've got the fire happening. You've got all these little uprisings and, you know, lockdowns and so many new infections all over the place. You've got the Zhengzhou uprisings. You've got all of this happening at the same time, and it's had this huge knock-on effect. As you say, so many small sparks everywhere. It's just kind of made this massive fire happen. Anyway, what do you want to add to this?
I want to go to the actual protest footage.
Yeah, I understand. We'll get to the protest footage, but you have to understand where it's coming from.
Sure.
Because there's a reason for it. It's not just people going out there and like, hey, you know what?
Absolutely.
We're tired of this.
But it's many
many things. So we have to show you some of the many things.
For sure.
That have been happening. I mean, like, seriously, I don't care what your culture is or what your religion is or where you're from, but the idea of having your child, your toddler taken away from you to a quarantine camp is absolutely appalling.
Yes.
You know, it's inhumane.
It's ridiculous.
Right? It is absolutely ridiculous. And having to dress your children in hazmat suits.
I mean, that's just inappropriate. It's just unnecessary.
And for what? For know,
what?
COVID is not a deadly disease anymore.
Chinese people are getting sick of being laughed at in airports because the entire airport staff, they'll land in Melbourne or something.
Yeah.
And the airport staff from China is all dressed in hazmat suits, and everyone's like, what's going on? And the guys in the hazmat suits look at everyone and say, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? There's only so much absurdity people can take.
Yeah.
And only so many human rights can be kind of blocked. And honestly, it gets to a point where when it attacks your personal freedom, like it actually attacks you personally, your kid, your cousin, your mom, your dad, then people get pissed off. Right?
Yeah.
This is just too much.
Yeah.
So
I'll go back to
the big stuff. Yeah, past that.
Yeah.
The big stuff was kicking off in Shanghai, and that's really what started piquing my interest because that was there was a bit of a lull in the storm. There's a lot of dissent back during the horrible lockdowns back then.
Yeah.
But it never got to a point where people weren't going to attack the central government. They were attacking the local officials. They were attacking, and it's not that people didn't internally blame the central government. It's just that you're not allowed to. No. And you're easy pickings. You're an easy target if you're the guy that stands up like that Chongqing guy and says, hey, you know, give me liberty, give me death. They start using phrases that are very illegal in China, right? And when you start targeting the central government, it's a different story. Mm-hmm. So really, it surprised me to see when people were sending us videos left and right and center from everywhere around China. Yeah. I even recognized some places I've been to that are protesting now, and I'm like, wow, this is wild because all of these things don't seem to be coordinated in their reasoning, right?
What are these guys saying?
It says
Renmin Wan Sui.
It sounds like it's very muffled.
I'm pretty sure they're saying Renmin Wan Sui, which is
people.
You know, normally in China you'll hear Gongchandan Wan Sui, which means like
Communist Party.
Long live the Communist Party. They're saying long live the people.
Yes.
So you know, it's things like this.
Keep playing it.
Yeah, well, it's things like this that really you would never see in China because the repercussions for doing this sort of thing are drastic in China.
Yes.
Just drastic.
We have showdowns in Inner Mongolia, like I said, and in other places in Xinjiang as well, where people are clashing. And so they're sending out SWAT team and they're sending out police, riot police. And people are coming into massive clashes just right in the street. And people are getting cell phone videos out before the signal jammers can show up. And again, it's really shitty because we're seeing stuff come to a head and then it just stops. All the correspondence stops, the people lose contact, there's no more videos coming out of it, and it's just coming to a huge head, right? And it's because they can stop stuff in their tracks. Like China has the ability to stop everything. But what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, you know what the official state media and propaganda is saying about all of this?
What?
The coronavirus is 100% under control here right now.
That's right. That's right.
No, quite seriously. I've been keeping an eye on the the usual suspects who defend the CCP. And their narrative is that this is all an isolated incident, one incident revolving Foxconn.
Yep.
And wage disputes.
And then it was just an isolated incident in Shanghai. And those ungrateful Shanghai people, they've always been like kind of anti-government, you know. Now they're just getting all pissed off.
And then it's an isolated incident because it's just the Xinjiang government, you know, didn't handle that building fire.
By the way, this is in Korla in Xinjiang. This is completely far away from Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang.
Very far away from the fireplace.
Yes. And this is people taking to the streets, coming to a head with the riot police. So I wanted to find some sort of connection. It's like people must be getting the memo out. So like I said, the thing that piqued my interest, like I said in the beginning of the show, here they are coming to a head in Xinjiang. So people were sending me pictures of their WeChat moments all going black. Right?
Yeah, all going black.
Their moments, and a moment is kind of like a tweet, right? Let's just say their tweets were all getting pulled.
Yeah.
And what was happening was all throughout the entire country, at least, you know, for a little bit, people were sharing messages that say, like, everyone rise up, this is our time, we need to stop this zero COVID stuff, and even anti-CCP messages.
Yeah.
And that was enough. It was enough to spread around the whole country.
Yeah.
And people found in their own clandestine, their own little groups, their own reasons to protest, their own reasons to go hit the streets. Right?
Yeah.
So you see here the people coming to a head here and almost absorbing the dabai.
Yeah, the COVID workers. They're not actually COVID workers.
These
they're
are
police. They're police, but
Dressed as COVID
they
workers.
wear those hazmat suits because they don't want to get infected.
Yes.
They wear it because they believe that the filthy rabble will infect them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
But this is important. This kind of footage is important to see before it gets jammed, because this is showing when people are showing solidarity with each other. And I suspect what the last thing China can do, right, or that wants you to see right now, is potentially some of these police joining the protesters.
Yeah.
Some of these people at least stepping down and
Yeah.
saying like, okay, this is out of our hands now. And that is what we're waiting for. We're waiting for this kind of stuff to end up in that situation, or in a massive violent crackdown, right?
Yeah.
You had student leaders around. Skip past.
Yeah,
it.
I'll skip
Or
us.
so-
We've just done this. Yeah.
You had student leaders get up and have their own manifestos, their own reasons. They set up loudspeakers, and it was almost as if the first coordination was throughout all the universities in China.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And we're going to show you evidence of that in a minute, because I've been sent a document which
Yes.
has been shared. You see, the Chinese internet is so heavily censored that they simply delete people's moments. They delete discussions on anything. But what people have been doing is using the equivalent of like Google Docs,
Yes.
Google Documents,
Yeah.
to share. So cloud-based documents which are then being shared, and people can access them. And as long as they are on websites that are not blocked in China, but not under Chinese control, people can still read them.
Right.
I was sent one of these documents, and in the document, which we'll show you shortly, it has photos and memos of all the universities around China, big and small, all putting up protest signs, all sharing their thoughts on this. And I think you're absolutely right that the genesis of all of this was the universities.
Yeah, I think it was the organization of it. The dissent and all of the distrust of the government right now is in everyone's hearts.
Yes.
But the culmination of this really was the student leaders that stood up and said, okay, this is our time. And I would be interested to see what kind of tool they use to communicate with each other, because like I said, it was all wiped, right?
Yeah.
But they managed to keep it under CCP radar until the genesis happened, which I find fascinating. They usually can nip every... This is why you don't see massive revolts in China that spread at the same time, because it's impossible. The Chinese government shuts it down and disappears the people that organize anything. So everyone's too scared to do it. Again, since 1989... This is the first time I've seen that. Was that a good speech?
Yeah.
There was a speech there. I'll just you don't have to go back. We got to show you so much stuff. He says, I represent myself. I represent my own thoughts, my own self. And that, insinuating the Chinese government is not the one that represents me. And we need to stand up for justice for the fires and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Inner Mongolia, massive snowstorms, people still going out there.
Yeah.
Going to government buildings, storming them.
Yeah.
Taking leaders hostage. Things like this. This is unprecedented. You do not see people rise up against the central government here, guys.
Never.
They're going to local government offices, but their messaging is the central government.
Yeah.
Never heard that.
CCP step down Xi Jinping.
Never heard that before.
You
Ever.
know, it's one of those things that if you say those sort of things in China, that's you. You're done.
It's a death sentence.
Yeah, you're done. You're detained. You'll probably never see the light of day again. You don't get a warning or a fine. You're done.
And I wanted to some parallels here to Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
Hong Kong, a tiny little place. Millions of people took to the streets. They didn't
Yes.
want Beijing influence. You expect that from Hong Kong? Has access to the outside world, freedom of speech,
Yeah.
freedom of media. They can watch what we watch, right? They
Yeah.
can watch us,
Yeah.
right? People like us. People in China can't watch us. People
Yeah.
in China don't have access to any, and I'm not joking, any media outside of China. None.
Yeah.
Zero. Unless you have a VPN. The vast majority of people don't have VPNs, which are illegal in China.
Yeah.
So to see something like this grassroots start across a massive country the size of the US
Yeah.
without those methods of communication is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane.
You did have some videos coming out of some of the riot police and things like that are kind of being more like, uh-oh, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Uh-oh. And I would assume if the crowds can overpower the whole situation, it could get pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had places in Guangzhou. Remember, Guangzhou had a big protest, unrelated to Foxconn.
Yes,
a lot of
completely.
the people running defense for the CCP were ignoring that one.
Yeah.
It's spreading massively in Guangzhou right now.
Yeah.
They've been under lockdowns, and they are also using protest anthems that Hong Kongers used.
Yes.
They are also calling for the CCP to step down. This is not just about local lockdowns anymore, guys.
Yeah.
And this is a deep south place, all the way down south. We just looked at the extreme north.
It's all over the country, and I think that's the important thing to realize here is that this is not, one area.
Yeah.
It's not one
No.
one
It's
specific thing.
every place
Yeah.
in China.
I mean,
Wuhan just blew up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think what we can definitely say for sure is the one thing that's causing all of this is the zero COVID policy.
For sure.
Is the lockdowns. People are tired of it because their freedoms keep getting taken away. If you read that university manifesto, it's all about that. They're like, yes, we'll lock down for now. You give us freedom for a little while. And then what's going to happen? We're going to be locked down again.
Yes. So
You
you
know?
saw these manifestos pop up.
Yeah.
You saw the Bannerman's message pop up.
Yes.
You saw graffiti pop up. You saw no lockdown graffiti pop up. You saw all kinds of weird ways to protest.
People are this is the document I was sent, and I
Yes.
wanted to show you. There's a manifesto. I've actually sent it off to the Great Translation Movement to get a proper
officially,
translation
yeah.
on Twitter, so we should have that soon. You can see these are all different universities, okay? And it says like, go be 人自由 on one of those, which means dogs have more freedom than people.
Yeah.
Actually true. Actually
Very
true.
true.
In China right
Except
now.
they get murdered.
Yeah, well,
sometimes
okay, yeah. People
by the
just
pandemic staff.
yeah, if you take a look, that's like a Jilin Dashue, which means the Jilin University.
Yeah.
You can see these are the documents I was telling you about, which are being passed around.
Yeah,
on
this is
sort of cloud.
I think this is really important because this shows the scale of all over the country.
Yes.
It's not one place. You guys understand 1.4 billion people. You know how many universities there are in China?
Yeah.
These are if you could look at a heat map, it would just be one color.
Yes.
Because they're across. They're even in highly restricted places like Western China.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Yes, exactly. Give me liberty, give me death. What we're seeing is all these are all different universities. Okay, like this is the Xi'an Waiguoyu Dashue, all right, and this is in Xi'an.
Foreign languages
Yeah,
college.
yeah, exactly. You're seeing a lot of this, by the way, which is an interesting way of protesting, is people writing xing, 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 or how, or just how on any propaganda.
Yeah.
So if there's
Very interesting.
It's interesting. When there's a big propaganda poster, they just write, they spray paint how, which kind of means
Yeah.
like whatever.
Right.
Still,
we
we're still
assume.
trying to figure out the exact thing that's going on with that.
I'd
but
like to know
that
the
is a form.
genesis.
Yeah, you see that there. Did you
Nanjing,
include?
yeah.
Did you include that video? The
I
protest.
didn't. I mean,
Okay.
we have to get it properly translated. It's
Okay.
quite long, but there was a video going on around about how the Western China should rise up,
Yeah.
and it was very well made.
Yeah, I actually want to go back to that one because there's a poster.
There's a poster there, but that's in Nanjing.
Yeah.
That's in Nanjing. So that's all the way on the other side of the country.
Yeah, you see
Right.
that poster up there, the top one. It's basically advertising that
Yes.
video that went around because it's very inspirational, and we will be showing you that on the Friday show with proper subtitles. We
gotta get
We'll
properly
translate it
we'll do it
ourselves.
ourselves,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll do it. But it's very inspirational, and it's inspired a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, all over the country, we're seeing different forms of protest, all against the government and all against the lockdowns. I'll actually get us out of this so you can see what's going on
It's
here.
wild because, again, I half expected anything with some semblance of people coming together is going to be mostly about zero COVID.
Yeah, that's in Nanjing over there.
Yeah. But a lot of this is anti-central government.
Yeah.
something. I can't reiterate this, guys. Like I said, in Hong Kong, you expect that, right?
Yeah.
You do not expect this in mainland China because you can't do it.
They're holding up
die.
blank posters,
Yeah.
as a form of protest.
You die if you do this,
Yeah.
guys. And that's why this is so crazy, is that they're all coming together to do it. You can't take down everyone, right?
No, you
that's,
can't.
That's the feeling in everyone's hearts right now.
And I think it has reached that point where people are so, they've just had it. Because when you take people's freedoms away again and again and again, all of a sudden they realize that, all the bad things that people say about this government, they are actually probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of my Chinese friends who I've been speaking to have the same sentiment, because in their lifetime, the people my age, they haven't experienced this kind of oppression.
No.
No. Because they grew up after China opened up. They grew
so
up
China
during
was
the
brutal
reform.
and horrible, and then it relinquished some of that, and they lived in that time.
By the way, you see this? This guy is doing the "It's My Duty" cosplay, basically.
Yeah, we'll bring that in the Friday show.
Yeah,
we'll bring this guy back. But easy even in these. This is
exactly. Wuhan again there are protests there are lockdowns there, no pool parties, but
there was at one time.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that this is everywhere.
So what I want to say is, like, you see, look at all these signs, right?
Yeah.
Like even just A4 pieces of paper,
Yeah.
small pieces of paper. One of those would have made our show. One of those would have made the news. If one person found one of those around the country, like Bannerman, one thing makes the world news.
Yes, exactly.
Imagine that times.
That's Shenzhen Dashui. That's where I studied in China. Represent.
Imagine that one Bannerman incident times 10,000.
Yeah.
Right. This is unprecedented. I want people to understand the scale. This isn't one place.
There they are, like they write how, and then look, you see people tearing down the propaganda as well.
I saw some videos of people, which I didn't share here, that were standing up to the protesters saying, like, stop this, like their teachers and things like this, and everyone rebels.
Yeah, they're like, get out of here.
It's unified now.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see.
Yeah.
It's great to see people standing up for their freedoms.
Yes.
Yes. And it's just I don't know how to express it, but it warms my heart to see people finally standing up.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much you can take.
Yeah.
Ku, as they say, eat bitter. People in China have been experiencing so much oppression and suppression over the last 3 years.
Not just 3 years, though. I'm going to say since like 2015.
Sure, but I mean, obviously with the lockdowns.
Sure.
And another thing that definitely helped spark all of this off was the FIFA World Cup, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's another spark.
Yeah, it's another
spark. We're not going to attribute anything to any single event.
No, it's just a spark.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at the guy who was saying, "Give me liberty, give me death," that got dragged off. He was
in a speech.
He was saying, "Look at the World Cup. People are having fun without masks and enjoying
people need
life."
That catalyst, right? It's like, oh yeah, you're right.
And that's the thing. The Chinese government has been telling the people of China for so long now that everybody outside of China is worse off.
They're dying.
They're all dying from COVID. Look how good we are. We protect you with our zero COVID. Everyone else is suffering outside. And when they see these images of people having a good time and just enjoying life and living life normally, it makes them question what they've been told by the government.
Yes.
People are putting together like these kind of art with masks and stuff.
This is in Beijing. They made like the mask tree, and there's bloody masks.
Yeah, things like that. And
it was context, right?
Yeah,
it was context for people. I want to say a couple things, but maybe you can just run some of the protest footage in the background with lower volume, so we don't blast everyone's ears.
Sure. I'll just just put that there.
Yeah. So I'm not here to make an impassioned speech or anything, but I do want to say that if you spend over a decade in China, like we did, and you fall in love with the country, the people, the language, the food, you buy a house there, you settle down, your friends are Chinese.
You marry into Chinese family.
Your family, your mom and dad are still your mom and dad back home, but your mom and dad now are your Chinese mom and dad.
Yeah.
You're doing mundane tasks. You're helping wash the dishes. It's just you become part of daily life in China.
Yeah.
And all of that gets upended because of one man's bullshit.
Yeah.
One man dictator bullshit. Because of his paranoia. When you're busy, you and your friend are busy going around making China look like a great place because it's a genuinely awesome country.
Yes.
And the people are amazing, and everything that we discover is something new and giving voices to people that have never had voices before out in the countryside, right? When all of that comes crashing down because a guy in power, Xi Jinping, doesn't want you sharing that with the rest of the world because it's a true image into China, and you are basically forced out in a way. And then you have to reel with the fact that, holy shit, this country is falling into deep, deep oppression, deep authoritarianism. Look what's happened with the lockdowns, and you watch it get worse and worse and worse and worse. All you can do is keep lines of communication open with your friends and the people you know in China, who get threatened for just knowing you, by the way.
Yes.
Who get demonized and pushed down in society and visited by police because they're your friends.
Yep.
You watch all of this happen, and then finally, thousands of people stand up and realize the exact same thing you've been saying for years. And the exact same thing we've been demonized for years now, being called racist because we want the best for China and Chinese people. We want freedom for China and Chinese people. We've been called pieces of shit. We've been called instigators and racists and bigots and all this stuff because the Chinese government wants us to keep our mouths shut.
Yes.
And now, for what we've been saying for years now, that the Chinese government does not represent the Chinese people. The people want freedom. They are human beings. They deserve that. They deserve everything that you have. Just like all of us. They deserve a voice. They deserve to be part of the international dialogue. And that's been taken away from them. And finally, it's coming to light that actually, yeah, we're right. Chinese people do want to have a voice, and they do want to stand up for themselves, and they are human beings. And they deserve everything. They deserve everything in this world, and they're finally standing up for it.
And the Chinese government does not represent the Chinese people. And the Chinese people are not the Chinese government. And we always have to draw that line all the time and make sure, because that's what the Chinese government has been trying to do, is conflate the two for the longest time. And so if you criticize the Chinese government and its policies, you're suddenly racist against Chinese people.
Yeah.
And that's just absolute nonsense.
Oh, it's just a part of a massive campaign to shut people up, right?
Correct.
But this is what's in the Chinese people's hearts.
The
And
Chinese
you can hear
people,
them say-
everybody in China right now that's standing up, I applaud you. This is your moment. This is fantastic, and I'm so happy to see people finally standing up. It's incredible. It's like I said, it's the most heartwarming and humbling thing to experience, and I wish you all the best. And we will continue to do our absolute best to
word.
give you a voice. Yeah. Because all you have out there are these pieces of shit
The coronavirus is 100% under control here right now.
who work for the Chinese government, who are there to try and distract and to further the agenda of the Chinese government and continue to help suppress the people of China. And that's not what we're all about.
No. If you see anyone, and this is, I think is a good way for people to go forward. If you see anyone trying to deflect from what's happening right now, because this is massive, guys.
Yeah.
This is a national event.
Yeah.
If you see anyone trying to say, hey, it's this, or hey, it's actually just a couple people, or
Yeah,
oh,
or
no,
it's
don't worry about that. That was
isolated.
isolated. That has nothing to do with it. Then you know exactly who they're working for.
Yeah.
And this is the time where we stop getting confused by the disinformation, by the agents working for the Chinese government to make sure you don't see this story.
Yeah.
This is the time we say, fuck you, get out of my news feed, get off of my YouTube page, get off of my Twitter. This, you're about to see an influx of massive disinformation campaigns.
Yeah.
The first thing I saw happen when I started posting about this
Yeah.
was comments coming in saying, mistranslating what the people were saying.
Yes.
You show a clip without subtitles and it says like, get rid of the CCP, get rid of Xi Jinping.
Step down Xi Jinping.
People were saying, oh, they're just saying too much COVID lockdowns. They're trying to embellish what's actually being said.
Yeah.
And this is the time where you guys are not confused anymore because you came to the right source here. You saw what's happening, and this is just the beginning of something massive.
Yeah.
I am never going to be one to say this is going to be some massive successful revolution.
Yeah.
I think the CCP has every power in their arsenal to stop this.
They will.
And they will probably stop this, but this is the first time we can see right front and center what the people want.
And you can see that what the Chinese government has been lying to the rest of the world about isn't true. Chinese people do not back what they're doing. The Chinese people are not on board with this shit.
No.
They're just doing what they're told because they don't have a choice. And finally, they're standing up for themselves.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to do. We're going to end this now.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do is have a massive follow-up on Friday.
Yeah.
This coming Friday, where we're going to have fully translated documents for you. We're going to have that big video that's been going around inspiring people fully translated for you. And of course, we'll have a complete follow-up on everything that's happened since this, because this is all happening right now.
Yes.
It was happening last night. It's still happening right now in China.
Can you run the Patreon? We're going to be live on Monday.
Yeah.
on patreon.com/ADV podcast. We have a whole nother show, which will definitely be getting into some of this.
Yeah.
On Monday, it's called Xiaban Ho. We'll be on there. We'll also be covering the main events on Friday, like you said. And I actually thank you to the guys that sent super chats for this episode. I'm saving all of them for the Friday show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be
we'll read them out and answer them on the Friday show.
So don't feel like, oh, we skipped your super chat. We did not. I've documented every single super chat, guys.
Yeah.
So don't worry. That'll be on the Friday show.
And, well, I guess that's it, guys. We would like to just say a massive thank you to each and every one of you who are a part of this very important conversation that we have here on the China Show.
Yeah.
And, of course, a massive shout out to every single person in China right now.
Yeah.
You have our love. You have our support. And stand strong. Let them break themselves upon you.
Yeah.
That's it. And we'll catch you on Friday.
Jiao.
Okay. Rinmen one sway. I'm going to cut myself off. 5, 4,